Hello and welcome live to Var Nation. I'm your host, Rock Var, hanging out here with you on Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. I'm sure that, most of you have plans or things that are going on, barbecues or cookouts or parties or going to watch parades or whatever. Just want to take this time to say hello to everyone, and I know we haven't streamed in a little while. We've been very, very busy around the Var household. Um, yeah, as babies get older, they take more time. But wanted to say hello and wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. Hopefully everyone remembers why we're celebrating today, and salute to all those uh, who've served and who we've lost, and um, just want to take a minute between having a good time and enjoying a day off to recognize why we all have this day off. So, um, but a couple of things happening. I'm sure. Maybe you guys are aware of. I don't know. It's been a while since I talked to you. This is the last weekend for the Starro event. I'm pretty confident, and we have new content coming out this week for in DCUO. So we've got a whole new challenge to conquer, a bunch of new content, raids, four-player alerts, outside missions, two outside areas. We'll go through maybe a little bit here what you can expect. So we've got probably not a lull at all, really. The spring seasonal. This is also the last weekend for the spring seasonal, which I've done none of. I hate to admit, but in my 5 or so years of playing DC Universe Online, this will be the first seasonal that I will not complete. And I have no chance of completing it now, so pretty much just have to sit back and watch the inevitable happen. I am not going to get those feats. I focused too much on the Starro event. I got carried away with trying to make sure that I got all of those feats, and by doing so, I did not whatsoever even attempt one time the seasonal, and I'm not proud of that, really. I'll be honest, after playing for this long, those of you who have also played the game for this long, I don't know, I'm going to have to find a way to revitalize my thirst for the seasonals, because obviously they're the same thing every time. And when you've been doing it with, 16 tunes for 5 years, it's like sometimes I do want to throw my hands up in the air and be like, why am I here? What am I doing? I'm trying to get feats because stats matter and feats are coming back. And we're going to need all the stats that we can get in the upcoming event. No more, or in the upcoming changes. No more am I going to be able to do what I've been doing the past couple of weeks, which is I don't know if I've talked to you guys since I did this or not, I went and changed every one of my tunes to Earth. Well, every one that I care about. Every one that I care about DPSing with. There, I guess I should say it that way. I changed them all to Earth because, in case you guys haven't noticed it, Earth is ridiculously OP. I mean, ridiculous. I keep hearing that there are some other powers right now that are also just as good. I haven't tried. I've heard Mental's up there. Of course, I've heard Ice is up there. I've played with Ice, and I was not that impressed. Now, that said, it's because I've got to be in close proximity, really, for Ice to work. I'm not big on that. I like to pew pew pew, and so I like to stand back and shoot. Depending on the fight. I mean, like if I'm tanking, obviously not, but sometimes I get a thirst to be up in the battle and in the chaos. But to be honest with you, and you guys know this from watching my streams and my videos, I like to follow tanks. I like the DPS from range. It's just what I do. So that said, Atomic was getting a little. I've been Atomic since it was created, and the combos were cool to begin with. I got a little bored, and I kept saying, I'm getting a little bored with these 4 power combos and just repeating the same combo over and over again. That's also going to be changing when the stat revamp comes, and I thought, I'll hold out until the stat revamp. I already had Superboy was already Earth, and Earth honestly sucked for a long, long time. It was a hard power to enjoy for DPSing for a long, long time. And so I realized recently that Superboy was just killing everything. He's topping the charts every time. And I attributed that to Earth. I went and changed my Superman tune, and I went and changed Rock Var both to Earth. And, it's been kind of a cakewalk ever since. I went into a raid with Rockvar. I haven't really been doing any of the normal content. I've been pretty much focusing completely on the event. In the event, I mean, with Earth, he's top DPS every time, and pretty much one-shotting. It looks as though he's one-shotting everything. He's not one-shotting anything. Crystal is fighting the boss, and Rockvar just has to basically hit the target one time, tell Crystal where to focus, then power Crystal up, and the job is done. So, and that is, that's getting a little boring too, because there's not really much that I'm doing outside of feeding my pet. And so when the stat revamp happens, though, then we'll go back to the drawing board, and I'll decide which powers, probably try a few different powers and decide which ones I like the most and use them, because that's what it should all be about. That's what DCUO was intended to be. Play it your way, make your own combos, be different than the other guy, be unique. And then it slowly, over time, evolved into everybody figuring out what the OP power was, changing to that, and just spamming the shit out of it. But it'll get back away from that. But for the time being, I thought, you know what, I'll take advantage of the DPS power and use it for a little while. So that's what I did, and Earth's been doing pretty good to me. Couple of updates from my perspective in DC Universe Online. I did a heck of a lot of complaining. I think it was the last stream. Did a heck of a lot of complaining about the feats and the collection feats not working right. They fixed those, and I didn't even notice it. I did the stream. I was bitching about it. Went back, was playing the other day, and had the collection attributed to me. Didn't realize that. I think it had just been done like the day prior or something like that. So it hadn't been done when I was streaming, but it did get done. So that's another, big hats off to the devs over at DC Universe Online. They do listen. They normally are trying to fix things even when they don't appear to be. And stuff works itself out. So I did end up getting those collection feats. I've gotten every feat except I think I have one aura that I need to get. I got no feats from the raid, the players only raid. I've gone through it one time, and it was a disaster from beginning to end. People bitching at each other, things not going well. We ended up beating it. I got no feats. I really got no reward per se, other than some spores, and so I just kind of hung that one up too, because I don't have a lot of time to sit around and build groups these days, and if I do, it's never on anybody else's schedule. So it's kind of like when the bowed man takes a nap, I can go do a raid, but if not, that's not happening. Like right now, I'm streaming because they're napping, and I'll probably wake them up by talking. So, but like I said, I just wanted to jump on real quick and say hi and give you guys an update to how things are going. We'll be putting out some content soon, of course, because we'll have the new we'll have the new content starting. We'll be streaming a lot more, doing the outside missions, making videos and stuff like that. But it's just been kind of a lull. There hasn't been a whole lot of new stuff happening. I've been caught up in the grind, and it happens from time to time. But also, I have been focused, really focused in this league. It's just my league because I was the only one in it for most of the for a long time. It's JLU Legends. It's a league modeled after Justice League Unlimited. So any character, that's kind of the theme of it. Any character that you would see in Justice League Unlimited, whether they were actually on the show or not, um, can be a member of this league. And so we built, I recruited pretty heavily. We built up to about 30. We lost, kept losing members as soon as we got them. We really didn't have a lot going on in the league. But between this tune and Wally West JLA, I have finally gotten a league hall, which you can see behind me. I went with the underwater league or the underwater hall because, I've got with the Kryptonian Gladiators, we have a moon base. I'm tired of looking at moon base is. I wanted to see something different out the windows, and so this is a great view. I love it, and I'm very happy. Now, so far, I don't have anything in this league hall because, it took me, God, months to get enough prestige on my own, just running 2 tunes to try and get it up there. And not to say that other people in the league haven't contributed, but they haven't because they haven't. It just the way that I was recruiting and stuff was hanging out at Little Bohemia. So we got some people who were avid players. Yeah, I guess they weren't excited about the league not being as active, and so we lost them pretty quickly. And now I think we've got a league full of alts. To be honest with you, a lot of the players don't log in hardly at all. So, so yeah, if you're out there and you're watching, you've got a Justice League character and you want to join JLU Legends, hit me up. It's Superboy JLU or Wally West JLA. Either one of those will invite you. The leader of the league is also my tune, but it's Batman JLA. Or no, it's not. It's Dark Knight JLA. So I had to make Batman the leader. I thought that was cool. But I have absolutely nothing left in this base because I have no more prestige. So I have to work on building prestige. I've got a bunch of base items that I've been saving up from the Starro event. So we'll make ourselves a little Starro dissection lab in here at some point. But I'd like to have some other furniture and stuff. But you can see right now it's just completely empty. The colors will probably be changed. I was just trying to go for something very Justice League-y, but they did a really good job on the underwater bases showing, where you can look out the windows and actually see stuff happening, see fish swimming and ships passing by. And I don't know that actually happens. I'm just making it up, but you do see water moving out all of the windows. But other than that, it's kind of the same, but it looks slightly different. So I'll keep you guys, I'll come here every once in a while so you can see the progression. But if anybody wants in the league, like I said, you do have to be an iconic character, meaning someone, it does not matter whether you've got a hero name or a villain name or what. Now, obviously, we can't invite villains to the league. I kind of wish that could happen, but it would also not make any sense. But if you've got a character that's Justice League, or you would find them somewhere in DC Comics, because that's basically how Justice League Unlimited worked. I don't know, those of you who've watched the show, when they show those big scenes with all the characters, more than half of those characters have never been in the Justice League. They basically just took whoever the hell they wanted to and used them, because they got permission to use certain characters. And so that's what I'm doing kind of with this league. If you've got a character, you must have an iconic name and you must have an iconic look. So I don't want, we're not looking for people that have names like the Superman, but you dress like the Punisher, or your name is, go catch a fly ball, but you dress like Superman. Nope, got to be iconic on both ends. That's the only stipulation. Other than that, we could care less. You have whatever power you want, do whatever you want. You do have to play nice, but yeah. So there you go. But also, always, and I'll throw this out there, always the Kryptonian Gladiators are open to taking members. We don't necessarily care if you're a Kryptonian character. We're looking for like-minded players who enjoy having fun and treating others with respect. Those are the two. There's more prerequisites than that, but those are the two major ones. Treat people with respect and be kind and all that good stuff. And that's it. Don't cuss in chat. You can cuss in chat, just don't cuss in league chat. And that goes back to, I could care less, to be honest with you, because every other word out of my mouth is some kind of filth. But we do have league members who have kids, and what I don't want to see is the kids walk in the room, mom or dad's playing the game, and somebody's put a string of curse words across the league chat. We had that happen a few times, and people have gotten banned because of it. So we're always just looking for people who know how to mind their P's and Q's. What you do outside of league chat, could care less. As long as we don't want people out there acting like douches, and we don't want the rest of the game community to think that's how we roll. But if your fun thing is going out and standing at Little Bohemia, and that's all you want to do, that's fine. I don't care. That's kind of what I do most of the time. What I don't like and what I didn't like when I was coming up in the game was getting into leagues where people want to treat the league like it's your job, because I have a job, and at the time I had a couple. So it's fun for me to get on and play the game. It's fun for me to hang out with people. It's fun for me to joke around. I don't need somebody saying, well, you need to contribute this much prestige a week, you need to donate this many items a week, blah, 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 because quite frankly, if anybody ever said something like that to me, I'd just be like, suck it. I'm out. Peace. So we don't run our leagues that way. We're more of just kind of a friendly community, and we just let everybody do their own thing. If you want to team up and do group content, we'll do it. And if you would rather not, that's fine. I actually had one member one time, she did not want to do any kind of group content. She told me up front she just liked to play the game and have fun. So I didn't pressure her. She was in the league for a couple of years, and I don't think I ever saw her. But still, I would send her messages saying, thanks for being a member and all that kind of good stuff, because I did, with alternate tunes, end up running with her and found out that she was a very nice person, and just didn't want someone telling her what she had to do, or treating her as though she was some kind of underling, because that's like the gladiators. I may be the leader. It was handed down to me from my superior, and I take it very seriously, the leadership role. As my leader, Android Superman, did. And now I would call him, I don't know. I don't know what above leader, like Yoda? I don't know. I don't know. But I guess Yoda would be the thing. But, I learned from him that what I want out of a league leader is someone who's there, and someone who cares, and someone who you can take problems to or have discussions with, and they can kind of point you in the right direction or be a guide, but at no point do they treat you like they're your boss or underling or whatever. I'm just one of the players. I just happen to have all of the admin control, I guess. And so to me, it's my job to keep the league in order, and make sure that if those league problems do arise, or stuff like that I try to handle it to the best of my ability. And that's pretty much what, in my mind, being a league leader is all about. Now that said, man, it is, I don't want to bring down the stream, but we did lose a member in the Gladiators, longtime member, Green Archer, passed away. It's been at least a month ago now, maybe a couple months ago, very unexpectedly. I still, haven't really been able to figure out what happened, but really good guy, had always been a good league mate, had always been a good friend. I knew him outside of the game as well. I got the pleasure to know him outside of the game just a little bit, as much as you can for somebody that lives really far away and you don't really talk to outside of just texting and stuff like that. But big heart on this guy. Really, really, really cared about the way that this country was headed, and had become very, very, I don't know how to put it, had really, really started to get out there in the world and stand up and fight for what's right. And I love the guy to death. Unfortunately, that is what happened. I didn't mean to say it that way. Um, but just hearing of the loss of this hero, it really makes the world a smaller, more uncomfortable place losing people like him. I mean, there are a few people in my life, be it in the real world and also in the game, that I care about enough that when something like that happens, it's just devastating. Um, and he was one of them. And so I do want to take this time to officially say we loved you, man. We still love you. Green Archer, you will always be a gladiator. And you represented us well, and you'll represent the human race well in the next whatever happens. Be it an afterlife or a reincarnation, whatever it is that takes place. This is definitely a soul that deserves to be honored, and so I'm glad that I finally did on Memorial Day bring it up. Not that I know of, he wasn't a soldier, but he definitely did stand up for what was right and fight for it. And so, to all of those who did know Archer in real life, and all of those who are missing him in the game, all of those who didn't get a chance to say goodbye, we love you, man, and we hope we see you again. So, and at some point, I don't know, we'll all get our feelings enough together to actually have some kind of a service, but it's just been, it's been devastating to the league. We did not, nobody saw it coming, and he had taken a hiatus from the game, and just, a lot needs to be said, but at the same time, it's hard to gather those feelings without breaking down, and I think that's a lot of what's kept us from moving on at this point to do something like that. And I know it has me, because quite frankly, I'm saying this right now into the void, but I'd have a hard time saying it to my friends without breaking down. So, but anyway, to honor him, Green Archer, everybody, if you can, pour some out for our homie, and say a little prayer, whatever it is that you do. I didn't mean to bring it down and get all emotional and all of that good stuff, but Jack Jr., oh, it was Green Archer. He was a long-time member. His character name was spelled Green, just Green, but Archer was Archerr. He'd been a member for years, and had always been there when we needed him, and like any person, had ups and downs, and as brothers of the Kryptonian cross, we got through, and every person has that I know, or at least in league, we've all had times where we needed somebody to be there for us, and he was no different. But as much as he at some point needed us, we needed him. So yeah, and the people that are in our league, we may not interact a whole lot. We may not know each other too much in the outside world. But we all love each other. I mean, these people have been there for us through the loss of 2 babies, and where we had miscarriages before we finally got Bodhi, and it was devastating times in our lives, and these people, these league mates, were all there for us. So, as you guys were. I mean, you guys lived through it. If you've been with us on the YouTube channel, we started out on Twitch, but we moved to YouTube like in the very first year and a half of our streaming. And so if you've been with us since then, you know that it was we took a 3-month break from streaming and stuff, just because it was so heartbreaking. Jack Jr. asked what happened. We really don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. There's been some talk of some problems that he had with diabetes. I don't know if that was what happened or what, but it was just here one day, gone the next. I mean, seriously, that fast, and it makes you, realize that nothing's concrete, and you really need to live for today because tomorrow may not come. So, but so a lot to think about this Memorial Day, and I don't, I'm not I respect people who serve and all that kind of stuff, but also I like to think about the people who maybe didn't necessarily serve in the military but also made a difference in my life and in the lives of the people that I care about. That's kind of what Memorial Day is about for me. And so and that is kind of the point of it to begin with, is, those people who have stood up against tyranny, those people who have stood up for what's right. To me, doesn't have to mean that you wore a uniform, just the fact that you stood up and you did what was right when it was needed, and maybe you paid the ultimate sacrifice. And that is what Memorial Day is all about. So if you want to look through history books and you want to talk about how Memorial Day came to be, you got to look way back, because it started back right after the Civil War. A lot of people like to think that it had to do with World War I or World War II, which it does, but the very first Memorial Day celebrations were held by previous slaves who were celebrating the fact that the Union soldiers fought and lost their lives defending their freedom. And so that was the very first Memorial Day celebrations, and then it sparked from there. So it really, really, really goes back to believing in right, believing in justice, believing in freedom, and doing something about it. So whether you are in the military, whether you're a police officer, whether you are a fireman, whether you drive an ambulance, whether you're a psychologist, whether you're a public speaker, whether you work at McDonald's, you make a difference in everyone's life in some way or another. And to me, this is to honor those people who have made a difference. So, and that probably doesn't make me a very popular person because there's a whole shit ton of people out there who want to be like, it's about this, screw you. Well, it's different for everybody. So what I say to you is go out and celebrate, and think about the ones that you've lost, and think about the gifts that they've given. And this is our day to think about our fallen heroes, in my mind. So, but anyway, I've done my Memorial Day rant. Probably enough. I don't know. I was going to go out and do some seasonal stuff, but I'm not going to be able to get it done in time to get any of the feats, so I doubt that I'll really do that. I was excited the bonus Ancient Coin weekend was this week, and I didn't really get to take advantage of that too much. I did some of the content with Superboy, and it was fun. As you can see, he's a 180 now. That's one thing that the event has been good for, is I think he was like in the 140s when this whole event started, or 150s, and just progressively getting gear every day. It may not be raising your combat rating a ton just because it's based on the average, but it is going up slowly over time, and that's what happened. I got a 180 now with Superboy. I think Wally is like in the 170, the mid 170s. Rock now, because of the omnipotent stuff, is up to 190. So it will be very interesting to see what happens with the new content. I'm going to read. Well, we'll see if I'm going to read it or not. I don't know. I was thinking about, I'm on the forums right now, and I was thinking about, I could go ahead and read what is coming. But if you haven't seen, you can go to the forums to DCUniverseOnline.com. And there's a really nice video they did not long ago. The Meps and the crew went through what was going to be coming in the new event. So that can be found on the forums. and called the content is called Age of Justice. And so right now it's on the test server, and I know that a lot of the YouTubers that do test stuff will be out there showing it, so you can see that. You can see pretty much what's happening there. Let's see. I'm going to click on the full episode notes and just go through. Let's see. 2 new open world zones. We've got a time-torn Area 51 and a war-torn village. Wow, that's pretty cool. Looks like in the village you'll go back to travel back in time to a European village that's been taken over by Baron von Savage. Let's see. New 4-player operation called Saving Justice. New raid and elite raid called Ultimate Soldier. New 4-player operation called War Crimes. New raid and elite raid called Justice for All. So a lot of stuff getting ready to happen. Looks like the combat rating requirements are 186. So yeah, you got to be up there, and so I guess that it was good that they did this Ancient Coin weekend, getting ready for, go ahead and get that gear before you need to go do the new event. I'm taking my time with this new one because I got so involved with it with Rock, and I got into the grind so much that now I've got nothing to do over there, quite literally. There's absolutely no reason for Rock to get Ancient Coins at this point. And so to do the content is just like, I'm not getting anything out of it. So I've been playing the alts a lot. So definitely get prepared, because we are going to have this new content. Does it say when? I think it's June. I want to say it's June 1st. So that would be Thursday. Not real positive, to be honest with you. Pretty sure that's when it is. We'll find out. And then, of course, we've got Wonder Woman coming in theaters. That movie's getting pretty good reviews. I saw something earlier today on Facebook when I was kind of trolling through, and I saw somebody giving the director shit about the Wonder Woman costume being too revealing. Like, have you people... I love how people have never seen a flippin' comic book, and then they go into a movie and they're like, oh, her costume's so revealing. She's not a good role model, like what happened at the UN. You bunch of tards. And I shouldn't say that. That's stupid of me to say. But just a bunch of idiots over there. It's not like we don't know that. That the people at the UN seem to be idiots, but to make Wonder Woman your oh shit, what you call it? You know what you call it. Mascot, so to speak, and then take it off because her costume's too revealing. Cheesy Pete's, man. Meanwhile, the President of the United States owned the Miss America pageant. I'm not going to go there. I'll start sounding like the opposite of Fox News if I start jumping on that bandwagon, which I could do all day long for the rest of my life. But, I'd rather not, because that kind of life would suck. I had my opportunity to be in the media, and I still could, but I get real tired of telling the truth and people not listening. So it frustrates me to no end, because a lot of news organizations tell the truth, and then somebody flips over to a very how should I say this, ridiculous news organization like Fox News, who's going back through the history of their organization has been pretty much nothing but tabloid news, and now all of a sudden they're the only credible news source. is frankly disgusting to me. It makes me nauseous. So, so that's why I kind of don't get involved, because it's going in such a way where people just believe what they want to believe, and the easiest thing for them to believe, and that's just that. So I kind of fight. I take my fight somewhere else, and try to just inspire hope and happiness with people, if possible. I'm not doing that today. Jeezy Pete's. I've been being very negative today. I didn't start out with that intention, but it quickly turned to that, didn't it? I apologize, but it is what it is. You get what you get with old Rock Var here. So, but I am going to go ahead and jump off here. I hope you guys have a very wonderful Memorial Day. I hope there's people in your lives that you can celebrate it with, and I hope the best for all of you. We will be back on later this week because we have the new content coming, and so going to be doing some streams. I really don't have, there hasn't been a next update on the test server yet other than Age of Justice, so I really haven't had any time to, or haven't had any reason to do an updates with Rock. We are going to do a closing episode, and I realize now that there's no reason for me not to do DCU Tonight Live, because I have much better internet, and I can do it without sections getting cut out like it was at the old place. So we are going to end up doing an episode of DCU Tonight to wrap up Season 2 of DC TV. I have several things that I want to talk about in each show. And so stay tuned for that. If you're all caught up, if you're not caught up, maybe get caught up before you watch that. But it'll be, I'm not doing this very quickly. It'll be sometime maybe Friday. I could try and prepare something for Friday to go through. There's just been so much happen in season 2 of DC, or not season 2, but of this season of DC TV, that there's a shit ton of stuff to talk about. Like that's, I was trying to do the show weekly, and I wasn't getting a lot of people watching, and I hope it was because I was talking about spoilers. But so I kind of quit doing it weekly because it was just a lot to keep up with. So I figured I'd just do a wrap up at the end of the season. Hopefully by next season I'll have my shit together and I can actually put some time and effort into into doing that show more often. Because that really is what I would like to do with myself. Everybody, I hope everybody out there has dreams. I have no flippin' idea in my life what my dreams are anymore. I had so many dreams when I was young, and all of them turned to shit. Or I turned them to shit. And at this point in my life, I'm like, what am I even here for? It sounds like a Creed song. What's my life for? But, I don't have any clue. And at some point, I hope that it would be streaming, and I hope that it would be passing a message through doing these videos. And I still hope that that's the case. I have always, not always, but for a lot of my life, I worked in radio, and I've had several talk shows, and I never got to talk about anything I wanted to talk about. That was the shit about being in radio, is that you talk about what you have to talk about because somebody's paying you. And you have an affiliate, or you have a customer who's buying ad space on your channel or something along those lines, and you've got to keep it about something that interests their population. So, if the Sack and Save has got your radio station on during your show, especially in small town radio, you've got to talk about something that is interesting to the Sack and Save's clientele. You can't be talking about some off the wall jazz. And so most of the time it's stuck to news, it's stuck to local sports, or it's stuck to local events, which is cool. I loved going and doing live remotes from like the fair and stuff like that. That was always fun. But for a 20-year-old, it's fun. For a 36-year-old, it's not. Or 37, Jesus. I'm going to die soon. 37 for a 37-year-old, it's not fun. You want to be at home with your family, or you want to be in air conditioning, which is my thing. I'd rather be in an air-conditioned studio. But I longed for the chance to have my own talk show and have it be about DC Comics and DC. Back then there was no DC TV. The only DC TV was Smallville. So, but I wanted to talk about these things, but couldn't because nobody cared. And quite honestly, nobody cared. I mean, back then, I don't know if a lot of you folks are young, I'm sure, but a lot of you aren't, and you remember the time before all of this comic book insanity happened. I had, well, there was one job that we had that we loved and we stayed at, even though it was a horrible job, just because everybody there watched Smallville, and this was the first time we watched that show from beginning to end, and it was about season 8 or 9 before we ended up meeting other people who also liked Smallville around us, or even had heard of it. Because I guess we just lived in a place where people could care less about comics and Superman. So yeah, there was actually a time when we were so thrilled to be around other people that watched and enjoyed Smallville that we completely kept this job for like a year that we hated, absolutely hated. We were telemarketers, and it sucked. If you ever think about going to be a telemarketer, don't. And if you are, I'm sorry. And maybe you enjoy it. I could have done it for quite some time and been fine, but, you know, just not a fun thing to get screamed at 70 times a day, and that's only half of your day. So you got people screaming at you that you're calling them, and then you got your bosses screaming at you that you're not calling enough people or something stupid like that. So needless to say, we ended up leaving that a long time ago, a long time ago, 8 or 9 years ago. But just there was a time, and my point was, there was a time when comic books were not that well, comic books may have been popular, but it was not as mainstream popular as it is right now. There weren't all these comic booky movies. This was about the time when the first Iron Man was coming out, and they were, Marvel was testing the water to see how a comic book franchise would do in the movies. It was that time when it wasn't that popular. You didn't go out and see people walking around with Superman and Wonder Woman t-shirts on. You saw me doing that, and you probably saw me getting made fun of a lot, but I longed for the day that you could walk into a Walmart and get a Superman t-shirt or any kind of a Justice League t-shirt, because there's been a time when the only place you could find that was online or at a Comic-Con. So things have really drastically changed, and I hope that they stay this way for a while. Trends say that things will probably flip back the other way, but I hope we get at least another 5 or 6 or 10 years of this before it does, because in my opinion the world is becoming a much better place, because people like us, people who actually care about others and their feelings and that kind of thing, are becoming the more dominant in society. And so we've only got one more, well, yeah, we do. We've only got one more generation of people to sit through to wait for our chair, and that is the baby boomers. And baby boomers, not as backward as the group before them. They're not backward. I'm not trying to say that. Baby boomers are very progressive in their thought, but at the same time, they're still very old school because they were raised by that old school generation. We were raised by baby boomers, and so I just saw someone walk on my porch, I think. We live in town now, so it happens. The occasional drunk person just walks right up on your porch. I don't think that's what was going on. It's definitely not male, but someone might be lingering at my front door. I don't know. At least they're not at the back door. Huh. But anyway, like I said, the baby boomers were raised by that hardcore generation, and they raised us a little bit differently. And now it's getting to the point where we're going to start seeing Generation X. We're going to start seeing, the new, whatever they're calling the babies of the 2000s. I don't even recall. Depending on which study you look at, they're kind of different age ranges, but the technology age is what I like to call them. It's about to be our seat at the table. The next president may actually come from our generation. I do not know, but it could be possible. So, it's about to be time, folks. It's about to be time to light the world up with goodness and to flush all this bullshit out. Because they said the whole thing of what our current president was going to do would be drain the swamp. The swamp just keeps getting thicker and thicker and thicker. Somebody has put a plug at the bottom of it. It's overflowing from the top. There's manure in our streets. There's manure in our speech. There's manure on television. It's just a whole crock of shit. And so my hope is that our next president potentially comes from our generation. If not the next one, it'll be the one after that. What I'm getting at is there is going to be a time when we'll have a big seat at the table. And when that time comes, hopefully we'll see a lot of change. And we'll see, maybe justice will find its way back to the world. But stay tuned and we'll find out. And that is my Memorial Day rant. For God's sakes, let me get off here before I find something else to piss people off about. I love you each and every one. Thank you for joining us on Var Nation. As I've said many, many times, this is our dream. We hope to inspire. We hope to bring a little joy into someone's life. And at the same time, we like to have fun ourselves. So, we're not perfect. We're not angels. We don't claim to be. Nobody is. But we can treat each other with a little bit more respect. And that's what I hope to see happen in the world in this next coming year. A little bit more. I just got done watching the argument that Mr. Rogers made. And you're going to laugh at me and maybe I don't know what. I don't care. Mr. Rogers was a big inspiration in my life. It doesn't sound like it from listening to me talk, does it? But Mr. Rogers was a big inspiration to me in my life. I loved him as a kid. And when right before Bodie was born, they popped that show up on Netflix. And so Lyda and I started watching an episode a day. We were like, and getting ready for our first child, we're going to watch an episode a day of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and just kind of let it soak in. And the very first episode, I'm not joking. I mean, I'm a 37-year-old, 275-pound man. I'm not a baby. And the very first episode, I cried because I guess as a kid, I didn't even completely get the message or understand how impactful it was. But as an adult, watching this guy speak to the emotional needs of children in such a way that would inspire them to grow in the right direction. I mean, it's amazing. I seriously, thank God for Mr. Rogers. And so I just watching the speech, I'm going to call it a speech. It wasn't really a speech, but the kind of argument that he had given back during the Nixon era, because, a lot of things, you can say whatever you want. I don't care what you say, but I think our current administration is a lot like the Nixon administration. And looking back, that was it was one of the times, I don't know if it was the last time, I'm just speaking out of my ass, but that was the last time that the government planned on cutting public educational television funds. And there was a plan to do so. It was put in place. Mr. Rogers went and he spoke in front of, in the White House, and he spoke in front of the committee and everything. And basically he stopped it from happening just by explaining what his television program was about. And it was amazing to me that people in that room hadn't seen it. It had been on air for 15 years at that point. But, saved it. So I think that we need to go back and take a look at that, because they're getting ready to cut funding to educational television again. PBS is again on the chopping block, and shows like Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I don't really like it, but Barney, all of these types of programs are losing funding. And to me, that means that a great message may not reach our children of today that has been reaching us to this point. Now people will argue, well, if the public really cares about it, they'll pay for it. And get it out of the government's hands. It doesn't need government funding. I think that's a crock of shit, and I'd tell you to your face. If there are a lot of things that the government should be doing that they're not. There's a lot of things that the government is doing that they shouldn't be doing. Putting money towards public television for kids' education is not one of the things they should be cutting, and that's just, again, my opinion. If cut something, find things to cut, but don't cut things that put good messages into children's heads, like the fact that they are unique and special, and that they should be loved for who they are, not made to pretend to be somebody else or something else. Yeah. So there you go. Just got done watching that, and maybe that's why my head is full of all of this stuff today. Because I had originally just planned on doing a stream, and now I've talked for 50 minutes about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with the stream. But, hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit, or if not, just know that you helped me get things off my chest, and I appreciate it. So, and that's what being friends is all about. And we are your friends here at Var Nation. But I am going to jump because I know that Bodie's going to wake up soon, and we've got some stuff that we're planning on doing as a family, and I better get on it. But I did want to check in and say hello to you guys. Wish you all a happy Memorial Day. Hope everybody's being safe. If you're drinking, of course, drink responsibly. If you're doing other things, of course, do that responsibly. And there's great lyrics to a song that I heard, that I hear a lot on the radio now, and I couldn't tell you who the artist is or what the name of the song is. I have no flippin' idea. But I can say it's some really, really good advice. You can let your hair down, but you got to keep your head up. If you follow that advice, you will never have a problem. You can let your hair down, but you got to keep your head up. You can party, you can have fun, you can hang out with your friends, you can do whatever you want, make yourself happy, go all out, but remember, there are certain things that you have to do your responsibles. You just have to do them. Nobody else is going to do them for you. And it's very easy to get caught up in having fun and enjoying yourself and forget about the rest of life. And that's where the keeping your head up comes in. Have fun, but you got to pay attention to those responsibles. So that said, I'll see you guys next time later this week on Var Nation. Be sure to watch the rest of our videos. We've got like over 200 videos on the channel now. Some of those old ones kind of pertain. Well, they all pertain. They're all relevant in my mind because I made them. So there you go. But be sure to check it out. And you can follow us on Twitter at Var_Nation. For Bodie and Lida, this is Rock Var saying peace out.